Hello friends, it's Chrissy. Welcome to or back to my channel. And today I am doing the only 10 mass market decks tag from Meg at Rose Honey Ritual and Thea at Garden Goddess Tarot. My caveat here is I do not own 10 mass market decks if I take my Rider-Waite Smiths out. Do we want to talk about how many Rider-Waite Smiths I have? Let's talk about how many live on my desk. And that would be two. So we're not counting Rider-Waite Smith, right? Because if we do that, I'm definitely over 10. My favorite deck right now is the Centennial Borderless. It lives here in this cute little yellow plaid bag. I also have, I don't remember what this one is called. Is this the Pamela Coleman Smith edition, maybe? This one's also mass market. It's very grayscale. I love it. I said the Centennial was my favorite. I don't know. It may be this one. I also have Tarot Vintage. I have a giant yellow box and a tiny yellow box. I think that may be all of the mass market Rider-Waite Smiths that I have, but we're not counting those. I don't have any Thoth decks, so there's nothing in that category that doesn't count. So we'll start with I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I found 7. So I'll talk a little bit about what my collection used to look like, what it looks like now, and sort of what that process was like for me. So first, what did I do here? First, I'm going to show you the Kawaii Tarot. This is the original Kawaii Tarot, which has one of my absolute favorite guidebooks. This deck is worth the $12, $15 for the guidebook alone. It lives here in this little bowl with some crystals and some trinkets from Thea and a couple of other random things. That lives on my desk. This is primarily a deck that I use in my teaching practice. But I started learning tarot the end of 2016, I think, early 2017. That it may have been earlier. Like that's I'm thinking like my yellow journal started in March of 2017, and I don't think it was my first. But anyway, I know this was one of the first 5 decks that I owned. I started with oh, I forget. I don't have it anymore. I gave it to my friend Sarah. The Rider-Waite Smith in the green box. That wasn't for me. From there, I moved on to another mass market deck I have that I'll show in a minute. And the Wild Unknown, which I didn't keep. Actually, that was one of the ones that I got rid of. So I started reading on Rider-Waite Smith. And I bought a lot of decks from like 2017 to 2019. And by a lot, I mean maybe a dozen. Mostly mass market at that point to try to find something that resonated with me. So pre-pandemic and the couple of years before the pandemic, I was really looking for a Rider-Waite Smith that gelled with me, that I enjoyed. Because I really wanted to learn to read, and I was playing, but I wasn't learning per se. And that process continued, again, that play, but using in a very focused way, continued with the Fountain Tarot. I love this deck. This is the deck that I feel like I finally connected with the tarot. I consider the Fountain the deck that I learned to read on. However, because I wasn't really all that energetically open at that point, I was dealing with a lot of, oh, my moon card's bent. That's sad. I was dealing with a lot of work stress. So I was reading primarily around work and career. So that's what this deck means to me. Like, this is the deck that I go to with professional issues, with what am I doing with my life in a solar plexus type question. That is, I come to this deck for that. I love it. I wish that I could read it, in a more zoomed out view, and maybe with practice I could. But to me, this just feels very very focused energy. I put a lot of professional energy into this deck because that was what I was comfortable reading at the time. So that's kind of what this holds for me. There's a lot of professional, my own professional energy and wisdom in this deck. Yeah, so this is the Fountain. This is one of my 7 mass market decks that continues in my collection. And then when the pandemic hit, originally and actually I guess a little bit before the pandemic, I got really into Reiki, which is sincerely where my heart is. I just don't know how to talk about it. And this is the deck, the Prism Oracle. This is the deck that I worked with a lot in my early chakra readings, my early Reiki practice. This deck is phenomenal. It doesn't pull any punches. It is one of my absolute favorite decks. And this is the only mass market Oracle deck that is currently in my collection. Once the pandemic hit and I wanted to play with cards, but tarot felt too intense, I bought a lot of Oracle cards. I bought, goodness, a lot of Kyle Gray cards, the decks from Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel, a lot of Oracle decks, and they did not stay in my practice. I felt like Oracle was safe for me when tarot felt too big for a lot of 2020, to be honest. I wanted to continue a card practice, and this deck, and to some degree the Sacred Creators Oracle, which I no longer have, they really created a space for me to get a little more vulnerable. They kind of prepared me for a more broad view of a more broad practice of tarot. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I have 21 Oracle decks remaining. But this is the only mass market Oracle deck in my collection. I don't know how many decks in total I got rid of, but I do know that they filled at least one like paper Trader Joe's bag, maybe a bag and a half. Another deck one of the decks that survived the Great Summer Purge of 2022 is the Affirmators Tarot. I love this deck. It is, for its size, I mean, no matter what, but especially for its size, it has an amazing shuffle. Like this cardstock, it's linen-y, but it's not really. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is linen. I don't know. But this cardstock is just to be this big and this shuffleable. I love the Affirmators Tarot. And I say I don't like animal decks, but two of my 7 remaining mass market decks, are these going to be flopped around? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This frustrates me. Maybe it was just that one. 2 of the decks that I kept mass market are animal decks. Kind of, maybe. This is another guidebook that is one of like my top 3 favorites. It's very tongue-in-cheek, very snarky. This is a great guidebook. So then once I'd say maybe the fall of 2020, maybe even, I don't know. At some point I started collecting tarot decks. I bought a lot of decks in general, but a lot of mass market decks that are no longer in my collection. I had, I still have one of Chris Ann's decks, which we'll see, but I had the Muse, which I ended up separating and mailing to people. I had, so all of the mass market decks that I had, I didn't feel like anyone would buy them. So honestly, I took them to Goodwill. They went in a big Goodwill order because I thought it would be kind of just interesting to go into Goodwill and to find tarot decks. There were a couple of indie decks that I got rid of that I put in like the little libraries around town. And I love the fact that maybe there's some like 12-year-old girl somewhere freaking out her mom because she got a tarot deck out of a little library on a walk. But that just makes me laugh. I released a lot of tarot decks. I had several. The Good Tarot I really wanted to connect with, and I didn't. I separated and mailed out the Golden Girls Tarot, and there was another one. I've forgotten the name of it. Is it Luna Soul that where the backs are like the sun and the moon, so they're not reversible? I got rid of that one. I got rid of Modern Witch. Anything that I wasn't using, anything that felt like it was just taking up space, that my heart didn't go pitter patter when I picked it up. And it was less about, this really wasn't a big Marie Kondo thing. It wasn't about what didn't bring me joy, because there were cards in some of the decks that I released that definitely brought me joy. I really enjoyed, I did not keep Lightseer's Tarot, even though I really enjoy the Seven of Cups and how it looks like Dax Shepard. That always amused me, but I didn't keep it because I wasn't reading with it, and I felt like I was keeping a lot of decks simply to read for other people. I enjoyed being able to read for others and pick decks that I felt suited them. And as I have stepped away from reading for others as much and looking more to teach others to read for themselves, which is really what I want to do, I've stopped collecting for the sake of using with other people. Another deck that I've kept that I absolutely love is the Tarot of Curious Creatures. I have edged this deck with Tombos of multiple colors. I don't know that I've opened this deck at the guidebook other than when my tarot students have talked about, you know, how they were interpreting certain cards. I haven't used the guidebook at all, so I don't know how it's written. But I love the fun edging on this deck. It did bleed quite a bit, especially the magenta, but it's fine with me. I still love it. This is what I get when I think that I'm going to be able to smoothly keep talking even though I switch decks, because there's the energy of the changing of the energy of the deck definitely impacts the words I'm saying, and I just lost my train of thought. But I was keeping decks simply to read with them. And there are still some indie decks that I'm like, I don't know why I'm holding on to these. I don't read with them, but I'm trying to stay away from Facebook, and I feel like Facebook is the place to buy, sell, trade right now. So I'm just not doing that. But if you're interested in, I'll throw this out there because I'm talking about it here, and who knows, I have a copy of, oh my gosh, I just totally lost its name. The one that everybody talks about that has the landscapes. This one, I'll just grab it. Hold on. Where'd you go? So random invitation to trade. Majestic Earth, good grief. I have the Majestic Earth that I would love to trade for one of the Mary decks from the lady's name that I've also just forgotten because I didn't plan. The Black Madonna or the Mother Mary Oracle. You know the ones on Tarot. You know the ones I'm talking about, right? this is what I get. Long story short, I have a Majestic Earth that I don't use. I have several others that I don't use, but I'm not in that sphere yet. So if you want Majestic Earth, you have a Black Madonna or the Mysteries of Mary, reach out. We'll talk. Anyway, as I was saying, I was keeping a lot of decks simply to read for others. And as I became more interested and more guided toward helping others read for themselves, the need to keep decks just no longer spoke to me. And I feel like the teacher in me comes back to, as I check my time for physical therapy, comes back to, I feel like so much of what I do reflects on how I learned to be a yoga teacher. And my purpose as a yoga teacher is to teach my students how to become masters of their own interactions with their own body so that they no longer need me. And I feel like that's kind of my calling for tarot as well, to help others become masters of their own energy so that they no longer need me. And that's my role in my professional life too. I'm always always evaluating, is this the time for us to no longer work together? So I think that's just in my mindset. So once I realized that I only truly need to keep cards that I want to work with, that's what allowed me to release so many decks several months ago. And I didn't feel the need to talk about it. One, because it was kind of embarrassing to me how many decks I had let accumulate that I wasn't using. And two, it just felt really, really personal. And I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't realize that these cards were in order. And I've been flipping through the whole majors, right? That's funny. Anyway, this is Tarot of Curious Creatures, and I love it. I use it. I don't use it very often, but I feel like I would be sad if I didn't have, hi, box. I would be sad if it wasn't here for me to potentially use it. So I keep it because it makes me smile. So I have two more mass market decks that are still in my collection. These two I do use pretty frequently. This is the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I love this deck. And I also really, really love the bag, the fabric that I put it in. And this is a deck that I use a lot for ancestral work and past life work. And I'm glad I talked about the fabric on my wrap for this deck, because honestly, that was a lot of how I knew if I wanted to keep a deck or not. As I've decided to keep most of my decks in wraps, when I was trying to decide what decks to keep and what decks to release, I would ask myself, do I feel like searching through Etsy, I really enjoy Spoonflower, to find a fabric that goes with this deck? That was really my decision-making process for a lot of them. You can see Curious Creatures and Affirmators don't have bags, but yes, I would totally. I have fabric actually in my cart for both of them. I'm just waiting for a sale. It was the deck worth the effort of finding fabric that I loved and actually making a wrap, and that's kind of how I used my. That was kind of the criteria that I used on the decks that I wasn't sure if I was ready to let go or not. And at this point, there are no decks that I regret letting go of. And of course, the majority of them were mass market, but a few of them were not. And I have a few more, like I said, that I'm looking to rehome, but I'm just not at the spot to spend the energy of doing that. So yeah, I kept Curious Creatures I kept Mystical Moments because I love Mystical Moments, and because the Ten of Pentacles, I just want to show you because I love it. And if I've already passed it, I'm sorry, I've got to find it. The Ten of Pentacles reminds me of my husband, even though like he is not this gray and this long yet. he just reminds me of my husband, and I love it. So, and this deck is a fantastic solid reader for me. So, yeah, I've kept the Tarot of Mystical Moments. And then the last deck, the last mass market deck in my collection, the last of the 7, is the Tarot de Luz. And I use this deck almost every day. This is the deck that I keep at my bedside. Most nights I draw a card. Some nights I draw 3. It's just a tiny little thing. It fits in. I put it in my little evening bag with essential oils and a mala and my little spirit guide crystals, or spirit guide coins, which is not what these are meant for, but there's a whole video about that somewhere on my channel. And this deck just fits in this little bag and then in the other one. I love it. It feels, to me, it feels like a more accessible Lilifer. There's just something about it. The colors and the drawings feel very similar to Lilifer without feeling like I'm overwhelmed by esotericness and symbols and all of those things. It feels quite a bit softer, but something a little familiar with the really creepy little kid one that I also had and gave away. I didn't have it very long at all. What is wrong with me? You all are yelling this at me, I'm sure. Meg talked about it in her video. It has like the flowered backs with like almost looks Christmassy. Totally lost it. I had that oracle too, and I don't anymore. Anyway, as soon as I stop thinking about it, it'll come back to me. But yeah, I kept Tarot de Luz. I had not paid attention to so many unibrows until Meg brought it up. I really enjoy this deck. Like I said, it lives at my bed. This King of Cups looks like my husband now, which I think is adorable. And it looks like they're climbing the tower. And then all of the dots to me is very reminiscent of Marseille, which I'm learning to read. And that makes me happy too. And this Knight of Wands is so just coming at the world with that club. I love it. Yeah. And the Queen of Swords is pissed for me, not at me. I really enjoy this deck. Yeah. So the Tarot de Luz is my bedtime deck. It lives on my bedside table. Anytime I go anywhere overnight, it goes typically in my little bedside pouch, which an oil is leaking in there, I think, because it really, really smells in a good way, but still it's pretty strong. And then that goes inside of my makeup bag, my overnight bag. So yeah, decks of my 7 mass market decks that I have, the 2 that I use on a regular basis are Tarot for Mystical Moments, Tarot de Luz. The ones that I keep because they make me smile, the Affirmators, the Tarot of Curious Creatures. I keep the Kawaii Tarot because it's just so dang cute and it's such a teachable deck. The Prism Oracle because it holds a special place in my heart even if I don't use it as much. And the Fountain Tarot, again, very specific place in my heart. And it'll always be in my collection. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are my 7 mass market decks. If you have less than 10, I don't think you have to have 10 to do this tag. Meg kind of told me that, so I'm going to pass that on. I would love to see your videos. If you have any questions, any insights, please feel free to drop a comment. And now oh, that went quick. I have plenty of time to get to physical therapy. Have a great day, and I'll see you all soon.